And as we've been reminded by Russia's aggression in Ukraine, our free nations cannot be complacent in pursuit of the vision we share, a Europe that is whole and free and at peace. We have to work for that. We have to stand with those who seek freedom. I know that throughout history, the Polish people were abandoned by friends when you needed them most. So I've come to Warsaw today on behalf of the United States, on behalf of the NATO alliance, to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to Poland's security. Article 5 is clear. An attack on one is an attack on all. And as allies, we have a solemn duty, a binding treaty obligation to defend your territorial integrity, and we will. We stand together now and forever, for your freedom is ours. Poland will never stand alone. But not just Poland. Estonia will never stand alone. Latvia will never stand alone. Lithuania will never stand alone. Romania will never stand alone. These are not just words. They are unbreakable commitments, backed by the strongest alliance in the world and the armed forces of the United States of America, the most powerful military in history. And you see our commitment today. In NATO aircraft in the skies of the Baltics, in Allied ships patrolling the Black Sea, in the stepped-up exercises where our forces train together, and in our increased and enduring American presence here on Polish soil. We do these things not to threaten any nation, but to defend the security and territory of ourselves and our friends. And yesterday I announced a new initiative to bolster the security of our NATO allies and increase America's military presence in Europe. And with the support of Congress, this will mean more pre-positioned equipment to respond quickly in a crisis, and more exercises and training to keep our forces ready. Additional U.S. forces in the air and sea and on land, including here in Poland. And it will mean increased support to help friends like Ukraine and Moldova and Georgia provide for their own defense. Just as the United States is increasing our commitment, so must others. Every NATO member is protected by our alliance, and every NATO member must carry its share in our alliance. This is the responsibility we have to each other. And finally, as free peoples, we join together not simply to safeguard our own security, but to advance the freedom of others. Today we reaffirm the principles for which we stand. We stand together because we believe that people and nations have the right to determine their own destiny, and that includes the people of Ukraine. Robbed by a corrupt regime, Ukrainians demanded a government that served them. Beaten and bloodied, they refused to yield. Threatened and harassed, they lined up to vote. They elected a new president in a free election because a leader's legitimacy can only come from the consent of the people. And Ukrainians have now embarked on the hard road of reform. I met with President-elect Poroshenko this morning, and I told him that just as free nations offered support and assistance to Poland in your transition to democracy, we stand with Ukrainians now. Ukraine must be free to choose its own future for itself and by itself. And we reject the zero-sum thinking of the past. A free and independent Ukraine needs strong ties and growing trade with Europe and Russia and the United States and the rest of the world. Because the people of Ukraine are reaching out for the same freedom and opportunities and progress that we celebrate here today. And they deserve them too. We stand together because we believe that upholding peace and security is the responsibility of every nation. The days of empire and spheres of influence are over. Bigger nations must not be allowed to bully the small or impose their will at the barrel of a gun or with masked men taking over buildings. And the stroke of a pen can never legitimize the theft of a neighbor's land. So we will not accept Russia's occupation of Crimea or its violation of Ukraine's sovereignty. Our free nations will stand united so that further Russian provocations will only mean more isolation and cost for Russia. Because after investing so much blood and treasure to bring Europe together, how can we allow the dark tactics of the 20th century to define this new century? We stand together because we know that the spirit of Warsaw and Budapest and Prague and Berlin stretches to wherever the longing for freedom stirs in human hearts. Whether in Minsk or Caracas or Damascus or Pyongyang, wherever people are willing to do the hard work of building democracy, from Tbilisi to Tunis, from Rangoon to Freetown, they will have a partner in our nations. For in the struggles of these citizens, we recall our own struggles. In their faces, we see our own. And few see this more clearly than the people of Poland. The Ukrainians of today are the heirs of solidarity. Men and women like you who dared to challenge a bankrupt regime. And when your peaceful protests were met with an iron fist, Poles placed flowers in the shipyard gate. Today, Ukrainians honor their fallen with flowers in Independence Square. We remember the Polish voter who rejoiced to feel the taste of Poland again. Her voice echoes in the young protester in the Maidan who savored what she called a taste of real freedom. I love my country, she said, and we are standing up for justice and freedom. And with gratitude for the strong support of the Polish people, she spoke for many Ukrainians when she said, "Thank you, Poland, we hear you and we love you." Today we can say the same. Thank you, Poland. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for reminding the world that no matter how brutal the crackdown, no matter how long the night, the yearning for liberty and dignity does not fade away. It will never go away. Thank you, Poland, for your iron will and for showing that, yes, ordinary citizens can grab the reins of history and that freedom will prevail because in the end, tanks and troops are no match for the force of our ideas. Thank you, Poland, for your triumph, not of arms, but of the human spirit, the truth that carries us forward. There is no change without risk, and no progress without sacrifice, and no freedom without solidarity. Dziękuję Polsko. God bless Poland. God bless America. God bless our unbreakable alliance. Thank you very much.